think we are live. I'm going to wait, make sure we've got audio. I'm super out of breath. I was just running all over the house. Forgot to feed the fish before we started. I can't start a live stream without feeding the fish. They'll have a whole 2 hours to wait. They're pigs. I overfeed. It's a whole thing. Okay, so it looks like audio, video, everything is good. Yeah. Oh, quick announcement before we get started. The new computer from the big sale we had a couple weeks ago, that is here. It's in my hallway. I've got the new keyboard. I'm waiting for I've got to get a monitor that'll be mounted to the wall by my easel because I want to see how many monitors I can mount around my easel. There's one over there too. It's kind of weird in here. Not a normal art studio, but that should be here either tomorrow or Friday, along with a mount, and I can start setting everything up. So hopefully everything will go well. I'm really hoping everything is set up and running well. Well, it'd have to be because once I start setting it up, like I'm going to have to make it work. But I'm hoping that everything will work well with the webcams that I have. I'm not sure if my Razor, the one that I'm talking in now, this one here, best webcam ever, the Razor something ultra something. It's amazing. You can see like the kind of bokeh out of focus background. That's because of the lens. That's not a program. That's like an amazing lens on this camera. So I got two, one for the easel as well. Yeah, my computer's like, nope, I'm going to freeze on you. And so I don't know how much of it is Razor's software, absolutely terrible, or if was the computer. So we'll find out. Point is, if everything goes well and with the all of the webcams I have now, I will have one next week set up on my palette. So that will be showing the whole time I paint. So that's why I chose an acrylic piece for next week so we can take advantage of hopefully another webcam. We'll see how that goes. So thank you guys, everyone, so much who contributed to that. You are making, you've upgraded our live stream equipment. So yay. Okay. Thank you, baby pandas. So getting started tonight, we are going to be working on Inktense and MeWe. Now this looks like it's white. It's not. I'll show you a piece of white paper next to it. That's white. This is actually a very, very pale gray that I'm working on. This is the smooth side. Now, often I tell you when I'm working with pan pastels or I'm working with charcoal, I'll work on the rough side because it's got a bit more tooth. It's grippier. Pan pastels, I'm finding stick so well, it doesn't even matter. So I'm using the smooth side since I'm going to be doing all the detail work on the butterfly. That will make that come out clearer. The reference photo for this is over on my website, Lachri.com. The direct link is in the video description. So if you want to draw this along with me, go head over and get that. I believe I got this one from this was either Pixabay or Unsplash. I downloaded this one. So that is taped down. You can't really see here. This is taped down with a pH neutral masking tape. I get this from Amazon. If it's not in the video description right now, when I edit this, that will be in the video description. So it is acid free. This is what I tape my work down with. I don't want to tape it with regular like blue masking tape. I've done that in the past. Don't recommend it unless you're cutting the edges off, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. But blue masking tape, regular masking tape, that's not acid free. And so all of the tape is going to leave some residue on your artwork. And unless you're planning to chop that off, if you're cutting the tape part off, it's fine. But we don't want that residue sitting there. I'm still out of breath from running around the house. Can you tell I'm so out of shape? But we don't want that residue on the artwork because over time that could cause issues with discoloration and such. So that is why I am using the pH neutral, the black masking tape there. And it's not just that be aware of this, not all black masking tape is pH neutral. You need one that is actually labeled that way. So what else do we have? Before I get started. When we finish this up, one of the things we're going to be talking about at the end of the live stream, so definitely you're going to want to hang around for this, Instagram scams, Facebook scams, scams for artists. And somebody from our Facebook group recently posted about a scam that she came across. She thought it was fishy, and so she told me, and it's like, it seems legitimate if you don't know what to look for. So I'm going to be giving you some red flags. I'm going to tell you how some of these scams work, so keep yourselves safe. We'll be talking about that at the end as I work on this project. Leave any questions you have. Our moderators, Joseph and Nick, will be writing that down and sending that over my way. So at the end of the live stream, I'll be answering all your questions. So it will seem like I'm ignoring you. I promise I'm not. Well, no, I don't promise I'm not. I'm actually ignoring you, but we'll come back only temporarily while we get the artwork done. Okay, so what I'm going to be starting with is my pan pastels. I've got this nice, let's back that up so you can see it a bit. Here we go. This set of, how many are in there? That is 5 and 4. So I've got a set of 20. You can get bigger sets than this. I don't know that it's necessary. There's never been a point where I felt I couldn't mix the color I needed. Like I just did a project I still need to edit, but I just did another one for Patreon of a little bird. It's got a pink background. And none of these pinks are the right pink. I just mixed these 3 colors and it's just like paint. You can mix any color you need. So that's one of the things that's so cool with pan pastels. You can get, like if you know you're going to be using a color a lot, yeah, it would be more convenient just to buy that color. But you don't have to. Like this set of 20, I've got everything I need out of this. I've had this one for years and I've not needed to replace any. I've not needed to get more. So it's pretty cool. Make sure though that you do get this little palette it comes in. You can buy these. So it gives you a lid like that, if I can pull this off. And there we go. There's where all of them are setting. So that's going to make it much easier for you to organize those. And then, of course, being able to put a lid on it's handy. Okay. So on to the artwork. I may have to adjust the settings here because this looks like it's a little bit, I know my hand looks washed out. So we'll see what that looks like once we start putting color on it. And I'm going to be using soft tools. Move this around. So soft tools are kind of like these little palette knives, but they work great for pan pastels. I use them to blend charcoal. I use these for everything. Wonderful to work with. And they've got these little sponge guys on there, and that is what I'm going to apply the color with. Now, in this case, I was using the other night one with pink, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep using that one. I can just wipe it on a paper towel. So that will clean enough of it off. And honestly, if I get pink in my background, great. It's spring, or that's what inspired me on this, to want to do this one. So I'm just going to lightly go over that. Now, don't go crazy scrubbing this because you will start to just damage it. And you want, when you buy the soft tools, the link for that should be in the video description. But get extras. I don't know if you can see how many I've got in there. I always buy the pack of extras because that way you can just swap them out as they get too dirty or you need to get more. Okay, so with this one, I'm going to be using various greens. So I can just pick, let's see, this one's like the chromium oxide. That looks like a good one. We'll probably use this one, and some white on this. And so I can just start going on there. And I'm going to go around the flower. Let's grab some of the more olivey green so I get some variation. Now this is going to seem way too dark. I'm going to come right on top of that with white after. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention, if you would like your chance to own this, you can go bid on this. The starting bid is $55. This is an 8x10. You have the option to have it matted for an additional $15, or you can mat it yourself. The mats are actually really inexpensive. I'll show you. You just get a black mat. These are like $5 at Michael's. They're very inexpensive. Or if you want me to do it for you, then that would be $15. You're just paying my cost of the mat and the extra shipping. Okay, so, and that link is in the video description. So as we're going through here, if you decide you really like this and you want it for your wall, because you like spring and green too, you can go bid on it. And now as I layer in these initial areas, I do not care if anything is perfect or not blended well enough. None of that really matters right now. I just want to get some variation with the greens. I'm even going to pull some of my lime green in there. That's a pretty one. Now the cans and Inktense that I'm working on, I found it actually holds, even on the smooth side, it just holds the pigment really well. I didn't think it would work that well on the smooth side, but it does. And I'm just going to soften that as I get out to the edges there. So it fades. Just lightly going back and forth here. It's okay if some of my gray paper, like here where it's that soft gray, that's fine. I don't need to cover it completely. Same thing over here. Now, if some of this gets on the butterfly, it's not the end of the world, but it's way better if you just are more careful and don't make a huge mess. And I'm mixing some of these colors. I've got the 3 different greens. If you look at my palette here, this one, it looks kind of yellow on video, but this is more of a lime green. I'm going just randomly grabbing sections from each of these. So some are a little bit more yellowy, some are a little bit more green, some are kind of olive. And I mix right on, when I want to mix colors, I mix right in there. I know that drives some people crazy because they want everything to be super clean. I just don't have a problem with it. Like it's not a big deal if that ends up being messy. You can wipe it out if you need to. Just softly going through here. My goal right now for this step is just to get pigment on there. I just work that around the edges. Just like you would a paintbrush, twist and turn this as you need to if you're getting a smaller line. I just turn it to the side a bit. Okay. Just about there with the green. Now because I'm just going right over this green, I don't need to use a clean sponge. I can use what is already there to start adding some white. And see how pretty that lightens it up? Now it's not going to make it straight white because it's blending in with what's already on the paper. It's very similar to oil paint when you're blending wet into wet, where it's going to mix with what's there. The great thing about doing the pan pastel as the underpainting is it saves so much time. You can get so much coverage so quick. Definitely more difficult with using straight colored pencil. And that's not to say that one's better than the other. It's just personal preference on what you're in the mood to work in. Especially if you're trying to get something super out of focus, that's easier to do with pan pastels. Easier and way faster in pan pastels than with colored pencil alone. But if I want more control, then I find it easier to work with colored pencil for the background and just put the effort into blending them. I'm going to just build up until I get that as bright as I want it to be. And the reason that I start with the background here is if I go over the subject, it doesn't matter. I've not painted that in. Once I start getting the detail there, I would be making a hot mess, but that doesn't matter because it's not done yet. So if I smudge into it, I don't really need to worry. But when I work on this area, I need to be careful anyway because it's small, so it's way easier to do that after the background. Okay. I think I'm going to make a little bit darker off to the side here. So I'm going to wipe some of the white. I'm just going to take my paper towel and wipe a little bit of that off. And then I can take some of the darker greens. Let's use some of this one here. And just put a little bit onto the side. Because this green is the same, I'm going to use some of that inside the flower stem as well. So this will tie it together nicely. I'm just going to wipe most of the green off and I'm going to soften that out. One of the cool things with green, this is a thing with home decor. Green is one of the colors that any shade of green, blue green, yellow green, olive green, all the greens look really good together. Whereas sometimes like if you're doing home decor stuff, this actually looks a little too blue on the camera, but if you're doing home decor stuff and you're mixing different blues, it looks a little weird. Usually you kind of like if you've got a warm blue, you don't want to start mixing in cool blues. It can be done and look okay, but it's a lot harder to make that work well. With greens, you can get away with lots of different greens and they just work. Lime green, blue green, it doesn't matter. They look good together. I'm just going to soften that out a bit now. I'm just very lightly smudging back and forth over this. So some of these you can see I've got circles, some of this it's just more soft smudges. Okay, now I'm going to switch to, my computer went to sleep with my reference photo. Come on, wake up. I'm going to switch to one of my triangle brushes. This is going to be easier to get the smaller details. So let's see, I think I have 2 out. So I can use one for super dark areas and one for light. Let's see which one. This one can be for the dark. I'm actually going to hold off on the eye. I'm going to start with the white. Now, I'm not worried about things being super crisp because I can blend that out or define it better, the opposite, define it better when I come on top with colored pencil. And I drew this out with it was a polychromos, the caput color. So it's kind of a burgundy brown color is what I drew this on with. And if you guys have any requests for the upcoming live streams, let me know. I am definitely open for requests. Some things would be too time consuming and I can't do that, but you know, not everything will work for a live stream, but if you've got ideas or subject matter, go ahead and put in those requests for me. Sometimes I'll sit down to think of ideas and just be stumped. Now see here, I just went out. I kind of screwed up his face there. And I say screwed up, but it's not a big deal because all I'm going to do is soften that out. Just pull that out. Easy fix. Because if it's too white next to his face won't stand out. Okay, and then we have some, actually I'm going to hold you off. Let's go with the darker color. Got a little bit of black for the eye. And a little bit in his body. I'm just holding this so that the tip of the sponge there is barely touching. Okay, the rest can be done with colored pencil. So now we just need to fill in the flower. Oops, I'm going to punch the microphone. Okay, so for the flower, we've got some magentas. And I'm going to do the same thing where I mix the colors. So I'm going to do magenta. I'm going to pull a little bit of red into that. And let's get some white mixed in. So I've got a pink. And I can go right on here. Because the pink that this comes with, or the magenta, it's a little bit too purpley for what I want on this flower. I need more of a red tone, but I don't want just straight red, would be too peach almost. Like not, or almost a coral. So by mixing the two with the white, it gave me the look that I needed. And now this area, I'm just going to get some more white on there. We've got a little bit of white down at the base. Actually white and a bit of yellow. So we get that orangey tone down here. Really easy to get soft blending, but here's the trick. Don't overblend. You're going to be tempted like, oh, just a few strokes. It's so soft and it's so pretty. So more strokes will look softer and prettier. No, if you overdo it, you end up with one solid color. You don't have that definite. Like if you look here, we really want this to fade from that orangey tone up into the pink and then the white. So now we've got to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to use the same yellow that I used on, it's almost the yellow-orange on the other part of the flower. Let's pull some here. Actually, I think I'll do a little bit of shading with brown on the butterfly before I start with the colored pencil. So we'll probably come back up there. I'm going to wipe that brush off, just kind of dabbing it on the paper towel. I'm going to grab some of that lime green. I'm going to put that down first. And then I'm going to switch to darker greens. And again, I'll define that all a lot better with the colored pencil. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just going to pull that up a little bit here. And darken this a bit more. Okay, now I'm going to switch over, clean that off. We've got, it's a burnt sienna that I'm going to use for a little bit of the wings here. A little bit more. Being a little too careful there with the pigment. There we go. Especially on the areas where we want it to be really soft. Thank you for the super chat, Rob. He said, for the good dogs. Okay, boys, you are going to get a treat. Actually, I'm going to make them wait for just a second so I can spray this and it can sit and dry. No, wait, I'm going to hair dry it. So let's go ahead and take a break. You guys got a super chat cookie. Do you boys want a cookie? See, thank you to Rob. Actually, this weekend, I want to go and get treats that work really well for that don't leave a lot of crumbs. Otherwise, they sit and lick the floor for like the next half hour thinking they're going to find more crumbs, but that are a little bit bigger than these too. We need special super chat treats. You want these? Does that look good? Okay. Oh, the droll Wade. That is not archival. One more? Okay. Say thank you, Rob. That's a good boy. So, oops. Wade, don't eat his. That's Gibson's. I know he dropped it, but you can't have it. You both got two. Say thank you. Thank you, Rob. Okay, boys, go lay down. Go on, go lay down. I gave you two. Go lay down. Good boys. Oh, Gibson's got to stretch first. Gibson, lay down. Gibson. What are you doing? Okay, so back to work. Thank you again, Rob. We're definitely going to get them fancier, like special just for live stream treats. That is one of my plans for the weekend. Set up the computer, get better special treats. Okay. So back to this guy. Oops, I got green where I didn't want it. Yeah, Joseph's right. He said you need one of those treat dispensers with a foot switch. The problem is Wade is too aggressive with it. He would dive for them, and Gibson would never get one. Like, unfortunately, that's going to be. If I had one dog, I would definitely do that. I have what do they call them? The Furbos, and you can click a button and it'll spit out treats. I used to do that for the Italian Greyhounds. That was fun. But with these two, Gibson would never get one. He's just not pushy enough, and Wade is really pushy. Okay, let's see. Hold on one second. Mary said, I attempted to bid on the art, but it looked like I didn't register. I don't see the auction bid on details. I have an account. I'm logged in. Hold on one second. Let me make sure everything looks okay with that. Here, we'll have you stare. This is actually a good place for me to figure out what is going on. Yeah, it's not showing a bid. No bid log found. I have a hard time getting back to the auction page after registering. I'll check it. Yeah, it's not there. I didn't see. But oh, this one did the buy it now again. It seems like there's a problem when I do. Is that why? Hold on, let me see if it'll let me bid. Are you sure you want to place the bid? Okay, I placed a bid. Did it work? Okay, I bid $55, so that worked. Unfortunately, I don't think I can undo my bid. I think I'm officially bidding, but only once. The bidding is working. Let me see. Dashboard. Products. I'm not seeing anything. I can't even take my bid out, can I? Yeah, it's not. Oh, is it okay now? Okay. Thanks for letting me know, or letting Nick know, letting someone know when there's a problem, because yeah, that we had a problem one time with the oops, with the I think it was when there was a buy it now, but I'm not sure. That was the only thing I could think of that was different. So yeah. Okay, back to work. Again, if it seems like I'm ignoring your questions, I will see them after we finish the artwork. I'll be going through and answering any questions you have. See how I can just hold this to the side and get a thinner line? All this would be easier to do for the most part with the colored pencil. I just want to get the stuff that's kind of soft done now with the pan pastels. Okay, he's got a little bit in here too. Okay, so that is it for the background. Oh, what's happening? Hold on. After registering, you go to the dashboard. There is no link to get back. You have to reopen the auction page. Huh. I'll have to look into that. Thanks, Nick. I don't know. I bet that there's a solution for that, but I just don't know what it is. So I will definitely look into that. Aw, Tessa, thank you for the super chat. It says, a treat for chicken. I love that bird. I will absolutely buy him a toy with that, or, oh, Millet. He wants new seed treats. I'm going shopping for chicken from you. Thank you. He will definitely be getting some, yeah, well, I mean, I have to go buy them treats anyway. There's a pet store. I love it. It has so many different dog treats to choose from. So it's easier for me to find one that doesn't have peanuts in it for Wade. So I will... yes, they have to have treats for chicken too. Actually, we'll probably get some for Nugget and Sushi as well, because, you know, just to be fair. But really, I'm going to get chicken's favorites. Okay, so what we are going to do next. Right now, super foggy, super out of focus looking. You didn't do anything wrong. It's supposed to basically look terrible right now. This is just our base layer. What I'm going to do is take Spectrafix, which I don't have the main bottle here, but I've got this. You want to take Spectrafix and put, or whatever fixative you're going to use, a workable fixative. Spectrafix is my favorite because it doesn't darken it. It doesn't mess anything up like some sprays do. So with this, I put it in a fine mist sprayer, and this should be linked in the video description. The reason that I go with a fine mist sprayer, if you take the Spectrafix, it has like a little pump spray. If you spray that, you'll get these heavy droplets that will leave marks on your artwork that you can blend them out. It's not the end of the world, but then you have to blend them out. With this, it's so much finer. It is way less likely that you're going to have an issue with that. Sometimes I'll have a little area where I went too heavy and I'll blend it. It's not, like I said, not end of the world. But if I can avoid it, I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is just take this guy, and I want to be about, I'd say maybe 12 inches away, and I'm just lightly going to go over this. Now you are better off doing several light layers than one big heavy layer. I don't know if you can see, there's a couple of heavy droplets here that I'll have to blend out. But next I'm going to take my hairdryer and I'm going to dry this, because what'll happen is that spray will cause the paper to start to warp. By taking the hairdryer, this is going to make sure it dries completely flat. Okay, now you may not be able to see it, but there is a little bit of a dark spot in two areas. So because of the spray, me going a little heavy-handed there. So what I'm going to do is take the blender and just lightly go over it. Actually, it's not dry all the way. I'm making that worse. Okay, I'm going to go over that when it dries all the way. That is just not working out as planned. It's a little bit wet apparently, and it's sticking to it. So once it dries, I can go back over that. But that's all you would do, is just take your blending tool and go right back over it wherever something was a little bit like too thick of a drop. So Next, we need to put glassine on the work because to use the colored pencil, I'm going to want to rest my hand to stabilize it. And without glassine, I'm going to end up with pastel all over the side of my hand. I'm going to get my greasy hand. I mean, they're not greasy. They're very clean. I'm kind of neurotic about that, actually. But you still have oil from your skin will get on the artwork. People juice, not archival. We don't want that on the artwork. And we don't want to smudge things. We don't like, just put some glassine down. At the very least, put down another piece of paper. If tracing paper, art paper, whatever. The thing is, those other papers can still smudge as you move them around. With the glassine, nothing sticks to it, so it's less likely to smudge. It's also archival. So when I ship this to whoever wins it, this will be wrapped. Well, actually, I take that back. If I can learn to talk, if the person who orders this does not get it matted, I will send it wrapped in glassine and then cardboard over the edges to protect it. But I don't want to put just cardboard on the art. One, cardboard can smudge it, same as another piece of paper. Two, cardboard not acid free. So it will be protected by being wrapped in this. If the person who wins the bid decides to have me mat it for them, then it comes in this clear like bag thing that just comes with the mat. So anyway, there we go. Glassine is your friend. If you work in colored pencil, graphite, any pencil type medium where you want to rest your hand on your work, invest in some glassine. It is not expensive. A roll of it will last you for years. Okay, now let's go ahead and I need pencils. Let's start with the butterfly. So I need black. I've got some out actually already from a project I recently did. I'm going to just start with the eye. So I've got my polychromos. Now the reason that I'm going with polychromos for these, two-part. One, I used them on my last project and I'm very lazy. So if I don't have to get up and get my other pencils out, bonus. But the real reason is that these are going to be able to sharpen to a finer point, and that's what I need at this point. My favorite colored pencils are the Faber-Castell Polychromos I'm using right now, Derwent Lightfast, and I do have a couple, actually, when I use my white, I'll switch over to my Derwent Lightfast. But oh God, I love Derwent Lightfast are just wonderful pencils to work with. And Caran d'Ache Luminance. But they all have, like some of them have better, like if I want purples, Derwent Lightfast is 100% the way to go. If in this case, I just want finer detail with a longer pointed pencil, then the Faber-Castell Polychromos is going to be a stronger pencil for that. So they all, like, it's not that one is the absolute best. I couldn't choose. My two go-to are usually Prismacolor. Never Prismacolor with that. Wow. My normal two that I go to are either my Polychromos or my Derwent Lightfast. Those are generally going to cover all my bases. But sometimes the Caran d'Ache just has a color that isn't in the other set, and then I'm really glad I have that. So, and I'm just taking my black. I'll come back through with a little bit of brown, too. Fluff him up. Let's see. This has a bluish gray color in there, so I'm going to pull out my gray. I'm going to use that gray for part of his little legs. A little bit of fluff on his legs. He didn't shave for the winter. He's got his little tongue or whatever they're called. Someone can correct me. I don't know what they are. I know it's not a tongue. Wait, what? But kind of? Do I have? Let's see. I'm going to need a couple more pencils out. So these two look good. I've got my burnt sienna and sanguine. I can't say words. Words are hard. You know what I was thinking of doing on these live streams? Let me know if you guys are interested. Is maybe I've got extra stickers, like the words are hard stickers. I could do giveaways where we just send out. I know those of you on Patreon on the $19 level, you already have those. But I have some extras because I always order extra in case anybody gets lost in the mail or whatever. But maybe do a couple giveaways during each live stream of stickers. That could be fun. Or like maybe a sticker pack where you get 3 stickers or something like that. Another little bit here with the burnt sienna. Now this wing out here, I'm not going to really do anything. Okay, I lied a little bit, but I want it to stay out of focus, so I'm not doing much over there. And now just look at your reference photo. Where are your lights and darks? Just copy what you see there. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do want it close. Now, you can use odorless mineral spirits if you need to over pan pastels. Just make sure that you spray it first. If you don't spray it with the fixative and then you go over that with the pan pastels, it can kind of turn into a weird waxy mess. It kind of lifts up. It's just weird. In this case, I don't need to use OMS, or I shouldn't need to use OMS for anything. I'm just burnishing. So I sharpen that pencil. I really need it very sharp since I'm not going to be using OMS, hopefully. Little dots in here for some detail. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit. Let me see if I can get that focused. Is that focused? Let me actually, hold on. Let me make sure I've got this on autofocus, because that might not. It's hard to tell because everything's so fuzzy right now if it's exposure, if it's in focus or not. I think we're good. Oh wait, that's not the right one. Yeah, I think we're okay. Okay. Well, that might be a little close. Let's try this. Let's do that, and I can zoom in this way. I mean, it's not really zoom in. I'm just making it bigger. I guess it's kind of. Let me go to the easel, zoom him in a bit. Now I just have to remember to put it back after. There we go. Okay. Oops. And then I learned to hit the right buttons. Maybe. There we go. Okay. So now it's really easy. I'm just looking at that reference photo. Where do I see lines? And dots are your friends. We want dots. Another thing that's really cool. So a lot of him, he has this very fuzzy look to him. So colored pencil, if you don't push hard, as you're going, it looks fuzzy. It looks kind of furry. Normally, it's not something I like. That's why I don't. It's like dry brushing with painting. It's just not a look I typically like. But sometimes that texture is called for. This butterfly's wings are one of those. So where it looks like grainy and gritty, where I normally would be like, oh, I don't really like that. For this, it's perfect. So we're actually glad to have that texture. See, in here, as I lightly go over this, it makes it grainy and gritty, but that, again, that's what it should look like. So don't feel like where normally you'll hear me say in a lot of my lessons, I talk about not liking the grainy and gritty look. There are times where you want it. Got a little bit of black down in here. One of these upcoming live streams too, I'll have to have Chicken take the place of the boys, but it has to be the right medium where it's safe for him to be in here. Or maybe at the end of the live stream, because I'm pretty sure he would just try to sit on my shoulder and bite the pencils if I was working. Now right now, because I'm just using the raw sienna, everything's starting to look a little bit on the flat side, like it's all the same color. I will come back through with other browns and gold, like reddish tones, and get some variation in there. Some of this we want a more sketchy look. So I'm moving that pencil back and forth so it's not too straight. It also adds to that fluff look, or fuzzy wings. I'm going to move over to that sanguine for some of this that should be a little bit more orange. Get a little bit more around here. And this whole area is a lot darker with that orangey sanguine tone. The sanguine's nice because it has a more orange glow to it, but it's not like in your face orange. See, this whole area is a lot darker as we get close to the body. It kind of melds together there. Much better. I'm going to move the paper over a little bit so I can rest my hand to get the other end of the wing. And for those of you over on Patreon, today I had, or no, yesterday, the final portion of the horse, you can't see him, but the oil painting portion, the step 2 or part 2, that went up yesterday, but technically it was last week's video because I was late. Like, it just took longer because of the dry time. So I did a quick beginner, like super beginner lesson for any of you who are looking for more, like, just, it's a real time. I think it's like 45 minutes. I have to edit it still, but it looks like it's going to be about that long. But it's a cute little bird with a pink background. Like, I'm excited. It's cute. So that should be up in a couple of days or this weekend. So you do have another video coming this week to make up for last week being later. And I owe you, for those of you who are in the aqua and teal tiers, I owe you guys your like 2 coloring pages. So that'll be coming too. Okay, back to work. See, this whole edge out here has more, actually I'm going to switch over to the sanguine. It's a little bit frayed, so I'm just doing sketchy lines, just straight back and forth. Okay, a few little details. And then I've got to come back through. I'll use Caput Mortem for a lot of this. Just little shading on what's already there. Now, this does not need to be exact. I looked at several of these guys, and there was actually enough variation in the wing pattern that some of them I wasn't even sure if it was the same type of butterfly. They were all listed as the same. So if you're a little bit off, don't freak out or think you have to start over. It does not need to be exact. There's certain things in art we need to be exact on. This is not one of them. So I've got some brown here. This one is burnt umber. A little bit darker. If you look at that reference photo, again, that's over on my website, you can see where we've got a few dark areas. Actually, I'm going to switch over to my Caput Mortem. That is the same color that I drew this guy out with initially. Now, let me show you too. This is actually a good example. when you sharpen your pencils with the polychromos, I can go, this one's not even that sharp. Oops, on camera. I can go super long, super pointed, and that's not very likely to break. If I'm sharpening another pencil, especially let's say a Prismacolor, not that I use Prismacolor, but let's pretend I hated myself and was okay with pencils breaking nonstop, then I'm going to switch over to a sharpener that's going to be a shorter point so that it's not as likely to break. I mean, let's be real, Prismacolors are going to break because the clouds shifted in the wrong position. But you can make it a little bit easier on yourself by not having that point super, super long. So there you go. That just happened to be the sharpener I picked up, and that's why the Polychromos is getting the short sharpener, but it doesn't need it. It can handle the really long pointed sharpener. I have a Coom long pointed sharpener that I broke the lid on yesterday. But this one with the double points, this can get me super long points, but it's really only useful for my Polychromos. The rest of them are more likely to break if I go that long. And then of course, if you're somebody who uses Prismacolor, then the shorter point is going to be ideal. And while I'm thinking about it, because I will probably forget, if you are going to be in the Dallas area in May, I don't even remember the day. I'm going to have to look that up. But I will be at Aquashella. I've got a booth. There are going to be other artists there. So if you like marine art, there's going to be a lot there. And you can walk around and look at coral and such. Tickets are available now at aquashella.com. So you can come hang out, talk about art with me, and look at all the fun stuff in Dallas in May. If you go to aquashella.com, it'll tell you the exact date. Now, some of these lines are a little darker than I wanted. No worries, because I'm going to go over this with white and it'll tone them right down. I want variation where some of these lines are a little thinner, a little thicker. Let me use the Compote Mortem too for some of his little fuzzy stripes. I'll go back over some of this with black. You know, I'm lifting the pencil, so I make a line, lift it, make another line, and this is giving me that fuzzy look. It's not a scribble zigzag back and forth. That is not the look we want. So it's line, lift, line, lift, line, lift. Okay, and I've got a few different whites we can try. I've got the Caran d'Ache Pablo white. Let's see how this shows up. Now the Pablo pencil, this is one I get asked about a lot. The Caran d'Ache Pablo pencils are not, I've seen them listed as oil-based. I've seen them listed as wax-based. They are to Caran d'Ache Luminance what Prismacolor Very Thins are to Prismacolor. Both wax-based. So in this case, the Caran d'Ache Luminance, and some people have contacted, it's kind of funny, some people have contacted Caran d'Ache, and I've seen emails, like the actual emails where their employees, one person said, oh, they're oil-based. Another person's like, they're wax-based. They're all a combination of wax, oil, clay, all that fun stuff. It's just a matter of how much wax, how much oil, whatever, as artists, what we talk about when we say oil-based, wax-based. Caran d'Ache Luminance are higher wax content. That's why they're more opaque. It's also why they're softer, they blend really smooth, but they're going to be more likely to break than a higher oil-based content pencil like Polychromos. The very thin, because it's kind of the same, Caran d'Ache Pablos, like I said, very similar to Prismacolor Very Thin. Even when I used Prismacolors, I didn't like the Very Thins. They just do not work great for my technique. But some people swear by them. So it really is going to depend on you and how you're applying the pencil. That doesn't mean like that the Pablos are terrible. Not all the Pablos are light fast, so something to keep in mind. But the one thing that I found that I like Pablos on And I've only got a few colors. I've got black, white, and I think like a pink or something like that. But I like them for my top layers when I'm working on sanded paper. I'm not working on sanded paper today. I don't expect to love the results of this. I'll give it a try, but I'm probably going to switch over to a higher wax, like the Caran d'Ache, or not Caran, words are still hard, Derwent Lightfast, because that one is just, it's a better pencil. So, yeah, that is the problem. Oh, it is May 20th and 21st will be Aquashella. So if you want to come hang out, and I like to talk, just to warn you, so you may be there a bit having a chat with me. Okay, so let's get back to this. And I'm going to try my Pablo, see how I like that, and my Caran d'Ache. And that's one of the things that you want to remember with art. I think a lot of times we have a tendency to think that artists always know all the answers to everything. Like, going into this, I know I'm going to use this color, and that pencil, and this. No, I don't. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to experiment till it looks good. And that is pretty much going to be your entire career. I mean, you're going to get experience. You're going to have a better idea of this pencil worked good for that technique. This one I liked for this one. You'll get an idea of which ones to grab for, but you're constantly, throughout your entire artistic journey, will be experimenting. Right now, I genuinely don't know if I'm going to like this one or the Derwent Lightfast better. I suspect Derwent Lightfast, but I want to give this one a try. So here we go. Let's see. I still hate it. It just does not work for how I layer my pencils. Let's see. Yeah. They're actually kind of similar. The Pablo is extremely waxy feeling, like too much like Prismacolor, very thin, which is why I didn't like them. I don't know why. Sometimes I think I might like them, but you never know. Okay, so I'm going to go around the edge. Yeah, this is much better. And I don't say that about Pablos for you to be like, well, I'm not going to bother trying those. I mean, I would say that about Holbein, or Prismacolor. But in this case, it's an issue of, I just don't like them for my techniques. My issues with Holbein and Prismacolor are separate, but, well, kind of. So, in part. But I would give, like with the Pablos, what I did normally when I get colored pencils, I get the biggest set I can find on things that I want to test. I really wasn't sure on those, so I bought a few. Thank God. Because they're very expensive, and I don't love them. So I was actually happy I didn't love them. But that doesn't mean they're not good. It means they didn't work great for my specific techniques. I've seen people, what they could do with them, and they were amazing. I mean, even Prismacolor, I've seen people get great. Well, I've gotten good work with Prismacolors. Not as good as what I can get with other brands. But yeah, with Prismacolor, my bigger issue, besides them breaking constantly, they are not very light fast. Like half of them, I think there were 50 or there were more than 50 of the Prismacolor that were not light fast. So it wasn't half, it was like a third. I forget what the numbers were. It's been years since I looked into it. So they're just not my favorite. But I mean, I can make something look good with Prismacolor. So if I'm talking about not liking Prismacolor, not liking this other brand, don't feel like you can't produce amazing work with it. You absolutely can. Some of the best artwork I've ever seen has been done with Prismacolors. So it can be, now that artist, those same artists I'm thinking of have switched over to Caran d'Ache Luminance or whatever, and their artwork is still amazing. So it's not like Prismacolor is what made them. It was more of if I can do this with Prismacolor, I can do this with anything. But you can do great work with it. So I don't want you to feel like you can't, because I know I bash it a lot. I can't stand their quality control and the fact that they're not light fast. So a lot of them aren't light fast. I should say that right. And if you don't know what light fast means, that is a term we use to describe something being, where are my lines? Okay, I see what's happening. You are here. You're just up a little higher, which is fine. It just shows a different angle. I didn't know what I drew there for a minute there. But anyway, I don't even know what tangent I was about to go on. Oh, light fast. Light fast is how we determine how long a color will last before it starts to fade. So if a color has low light fast ratings, it might fade. Certain purples and pinks, especially indigo blues, like certain colors within 2 years, if it is in even indirect sunlight, will be it basically disappears. It won't be as vivid. It won't be as bright. So if you're selling your artwork and somebody spends hundreds or thousands of dollars, they expect that to last, not fade in a few years. And then the higher the light fast number is, the longer it's going to last. So ideally, you want something that's going to last 50 to 100 years minimum. Anything less than that is getting a bit shady. And if you're curious about Holbein, I've done a whole review on why I would not buy anything from that company again after how they treated me. And like they obviously, the only people I know of that they treated well knew they were going to make a video out of it. I contacted them just as a normal customer. Yeah, they just dismissed me. I wasn't important enough to them to answer, to look into it or whatever. But there's some questionable stuff with their light fast ratings. There's some questionable stuff with their ingredients. We know they use animal fat is what I've been told by some people. Like there's some questionable stuff that just, it's not that I'm like, it's fine, but let people know there's some definite, I did a review, just look up Lachri and Holbein and you'll see. They're neat pencils to work with, but I don't trust them. I would not be buying anything from them again. And the funny thing is I used to use their airbrush paint. I won't use that anymore either. Like if you are questionable on the colored pencils, are you questionable on all your supplies? I don't know. I'm not going to trust you. Total side rant. I'm pushing pretty hard here. So I'm making these areas brighter, but I'm also going over some of the lines that are there to soften them up. Yeah, it kind of a follow-up too on the Holbein stuff. I've had people contact me where they're like, well, Holbein told me this. Holbein said this one was the light fast, and they released this other information. They never got back to me. They never corrected it with me. All I can go by is what they told me, and what they told me was not good. And what the Colored Pencil Society's results, or Colored Pencil Society of America, their results were very not favorable. Like light fast did not match up with what Holbein claims theirs are. So I do not, like I expect some discrepancies, because of the methods that Colored Pencil Society uses are not like the same as the machines. But Holbein couldn't even tell me how they light fast had. It was a mess. I do not trust that company. Maybe I'm just jaded though. I don't trust a lot. I'm gonna make a highlight going down here. And if they ever decide that they do want to contact me, I'd give them a try, another shot, but no. They are, I'm going to use a little bit of blue here. Just give a blue tint in there. I'm going to put a little bit of blue over the eye, and that's going to make it look a little bit darker black than just black, which is funny. So here's a cool thing with black that you might not realize. If you do just black, it's going to look flat. It won't look as dark as if you mix blue, purple, red, something else in with it will look even darker. So nice little thing there. Okay, I think the butterfly is about done. I reserve the right to make any little minor adjustments when my eyes are rested tomorrow. And I'm going to start on the flower. This will be pretty quick because this is not really our focus. It won't have quite as much detail. Oh, wait, let me zoom this back out. Come on. Which one is it? No. Easel. Nope. That is not the right button. It does not want to. There we go. Nope. Oh my gosh. Come on, OBS. It just keeps catching on the wrong thing. Give me just a second. And let me fix it on this. And as a side note, as I fix this, a lot of people, you have a lot of videos out there. Holbein's the best colored pencil out there. Holbein used to be harder to get, and I suspect, and it's still very expensive. It is one of the most expensive colored pencils. But I honestly suspect a lot of the reviews that I saw of people going on about it's the best colored pencil out there. I think that it was like, some people feel like if they paid more, that means it's better. And I honestly suspect that's what a lot of that was. Or a lot of the reviews I saw weren't terribly experienced with colored pencils. So they didn't really know, like they hadn't done enough pieces to recognize the vast difference between them. They're okay. They're kind of cool. There's some things I liked about how they worked. But as far as the best, those claims are obviously going to depend on the person. who's using it and if they're biased because they, I don't want to say overpaid, but no, I do. They overpaid because they're way too expensive for how not light fast they are. And yeah. Okay, need some other colors. I may have to go grab, oh, I definitely will. 1 second, I need some different pencils. Okay. I'm using this more dull sharpener so they're not super long. Mainly, it's one of the little Coom metal sharpeners because that side is sharper right now than this one. This one kind of is going to need to be replaced soon. Okay, so let's just get some dark areas. This one is the magenta, and I've also got Bordeaux. Actually, Bordeaux is probably better for a lot of this. A little bit darker. You've still got an hour, I believe, to bid on, I don't know where my clock is, to bid on this guy. I'm going to pull a little bit of this magenta, just a couple spots in here. I'm going to take a little bit of my sanguine and mix those together because anytime I use magenta, there's going to be orange right next to it, and this is close enough to orange. I don't want to just grab a completely different orange because I want to, as much as possible, use colors I've already used in this piece so that everything flows together nicely. Switch over to Caput Mortem because it's a similar enough color for these shadows, but it's a sharper pencil. It gets in those little nooks and crannies better for what I'm doing. Okay, I'm pushing pretty hard here. I do need the brighter magenta as I move in here. I'll put a little bit of white on top of it too. I'll burnish white over it. Let's see which white looks better. We've got, yep, that one. I'm going to go with my polychromos white. So I'm not trying to lighten it that much. I really just want to smooth it out to burnish it, and that's working great. If I want more opaque, I'm going to go with a higher wax-based content pencil. Take some sanguine. Let's get a little bit of orange in here. I say orange, but again, it's kind of a muted orange. It's not orange orange. Okay, now I need some greens. Start with Hooker's green. I'm going to clean that edge up. So I'm pushing pretty hard because I want that to be a nice, clean edge. Now, you don't want to just leave lines like that. That obviously looks terrible. We're going to be going through now and shading that. This one is Hooker's green. I've got some lighter greens that I can mix in with it, and then I'll burnish white on top again for where I need it to be lighter. Actually, this green, this one is light green. Oh, that is something I would have named it. That's a good name. But we're going to go right over that, and I'm burnishing over this so it blends nicely. I'm going to go back over to that Hooker's green and pull that down further. Darken some of these little creases. going to take my white and blend over. Actually, I need more green. This one is, I think it's grass green. Yeah, grass green. It's a little bit of a darker, but still light. I may use OMS to blend this to smooth it out. I think I will. Let's see if this blends it how I want. Oh, that white does look good. I may blend this with OMS after the strain because it'll take too long to dry. I can't take a hair dryer because that's flammable. So I might smooth it out a little bit more later. He's got a little bit of fluff where the light's hitting. Oh, good, that shows up nicely. I was worried about that. Oops, broke the tip. Okay, actually, because I don't need to wait for it to dry, I can go ahead and get OMS. Be right back. Now, anytime you use OMS, make sure you're not going over that wet paper again. So right now, I'm not going to go over the edges or do anything else to this. Maybe at the end of the stream, if there's anything that needs any touch-up, but it has to be completely dry in order to go back over it, or you will damage the paper. So this is just a little bit of odorless mineral spirits, and look how smooth that comes out. It's going to dry lighter than what it is. This makes it darker. So don't worry if you're like, whoa, that came out too dark. I mean, I could always lighten it if needed, but this will really lighten up a lot as it dries. Because I'm working, if I do this, if I blend with OMS on like a hot pressed watercolor paper, a white paper, it doesn't get darker when you blend OMS over it, or not significantly. When you use a colored paper like this, it gets super, super dark. So that is normal. Now, I can work on the butterfly a little bit while that dries, but this also, when you're working on the Canson Me10s, it's a little bit more absorbent. It takes longer to dry, so that is going to have to set for a bit before I can do touch-ups, and it will need a few touch-ups. Okay, let me put that to the side. Where do I want to put that? Okay, few more touch-ups on this. And he's just about done. Oh, I haven't even done his face. It's funny how when you sit in front of something for so long, you can miss something so obvious. Let's get a little highlight here on his eye. How in the world did I miss your face, buddy? That is just sad. I'm going to use the gray and create more fluff. Circles around his eye a bit. And then I'm going to switch over to Caput Mortem. I'm going to get a little bit out here. Much better. Oh, and his legs aren't done either. So right now his legs are all one color. I'm going to come back through in a few spots with black. Let's see, that elbow is a knee. And then I switched over to the sanguine for areas where it's a lot lighter, the way the light's hitting. Put a little into the shadow here. I'm going to go over it with white, though. That's a little too dark. There it is. Much better. And then this is the stage where I can just sit and work on little details, especially being that I need this to dry anyway. But he's got like little furry marks coming out of his wing here. We've got a line of white. Let's see if the Pablos work for that one well. Yeah, it's okay. Nope, I still like the luminance better. I keep giving it a chance. Or not luminance, the Derwent Lightfast. I need to move this over. Now, this being wet, it's okay if my glassine goes over it. I just don't want to work a pencil over an area that's wet. One, the pencil won't stick well anyway, but two, it can really damage the paper. Pushing really hard there, right on that outer edge. And I'll probably spend maybe 15 minutes or so just cleaning little things up that, like right there, I just found a spot I had missed earlier. Like there'd just be little things that when you sit in front of something for an hour, you just start to lose sight of. So you want to come back with fresh eyes and do any touch-up work. And I would recommend that no matter what you're working on, no matter how long you've sat looking at something, when you think you're done, plan on coming back the next day with fresh eyes and doing more touch-ups. Like get it to the point where you're like, okay, it's done. But I also know I'm going to come back and do at least a few little things before you like actually varnish it or finish it. Now, luckily with this, let's say I spray it with the texture fix or with the Spectra Fix, I can always go back over that. That you can work on top of, so it's not a big deal. But let's say you're doing an oil or acrylic painting, you don't go over it. Once it's varnished, that's it. Okay, he is about done. And I just use regular, like whatever masking tape and tape my glassine to my drawing board so I can move it around as I need to. I'm pushing really hard there because that paper is already flattened pretty well. Let's see back here, the little darker fluffs are a bit thicker. Almost done. Well, minus the touch-ups. Actually, that is dry enough now. I can put some of the white little hairs over it. It's more dry than I expected it to be. Nope, that part's still wet, so I need to wait to do anything else on that. But that's about it for this guy. So what you would do next is mat it. When your work is totally done, well, not next. I take that back. First thing you would do is, again, wait for it to be completely dry. Wait till the next day. Come back with fresh eyes. Do any little touch-ups. You know, even if it's just 15 minutes, just do little touch-ups that you might, something you don't realize is perfectly clean. Like I already see a few little lines that I'm going to adjust tomorrow with when my eyes aren't out of focus or blurry from sitting here so long. But what I will do is spray that with my texture fixative, let it dry, get your photos before you mat it, and then I will mat it. So, well, I take it back. I will mat this if whoever buys it wants it matted. But if I was going to, let's say it was something I was going to hang on my own wall, or I was taking to an art show and I wanted it matted, what I'm going to do, let's back this up. This is a standard 8x10. So it's going to fit an 8x10 frame or mat. And that will fit into a standard 11 by 14 inch frame. So that's the overall size this will be done, or what will hang on your wall. And you just take an open or a mat like that. And I use, actually that will, oh, I still need to sign it. That will sit like that. And look how much it pulls attention here. The difference that a mat makes is so huge. And you could go, like, if the person who buys this wanted a rose color mat, just go with something, or even a brown. You could get away with that, and it'll pull those colors out more. So this one, I need to sign still. When I mat this, I would use a clean one, but this one sits in here as my sample. But I use an acid-free masking tape or acid-free tape to tape the artwork to the mat itself, just along the edges, and it has to be acid-free. Like, that is something I cannot stress enough. Has to be acid-free tape, especially in this case. That's going to sit permanently on there, so make sure you tape that. And then in my case, these that I buy come with backing, so I would use double-sided acid-free tape again and mat or put the backing on it, just a white backing, and that's it. And then you can pop this into, this one goes into an 11 by 14 inch frame. And it's nice if you can do stuff that's a common size. I get these on Amazon from Golden State Art. I need to put a link in the video description, but these are, I get the ones that come with the backing. It comes with a bag. So let's say you're doing an art show and you wanted to map prints or your own original artwork. That's a really good way to go if you're buying in bulk. Or you can go over to like Michael's. It's about $5 usually to get the pre-made, like just single. It doesn't have the backing. It doesn't have a bag, so it doesn't look as nice. But if you're just hanging it on your own wall, then that is a much cheaper way to go if you just need one or two mats. Okay, so, signing it. Now I need to decide where to sign it, and then I'll be getting into your questions. We're going to talk about the scammers that I was mentioning earlier. So let's see. This mat will hit about there. And I like the weight of the signature over here. You want to make sure you always hold your mat up. Hold on. Oops. You want to check with the mat where the signature is going to be, because if I didn't, I might want to sign down at the bottom edge. Okay, the mat's going to hit that. My paper's bigger so that it can be matted right. If I sign down here, your mat just completely covered it. So I want to hold the mat where this is going to look its best, and then figure out where my signature needs to go. Same thing with your paintings. When you frame it, you don't mat it, but you would still have a little bit of the lip of the open frame would touch the edge. You want to make sure your signature is up far enough that that wouldn't get covered. Okay, so there is the finished artwork. Oh, I like how he came out. He's really cute. And we'll be going over your questions in a second. The first thing we're going to talk about tonight, though, internet scams for artists. Instagram's terrible. I gotten them on Facebook. Any social media platform, you're going to have scams. So what happens? First, let's talk about some red flags. The scammer's goal is, there's several goals they can have. One goal is that they will tell you they want to buy a painting. Actually, we'll come into the red flags in just a moment. They will tell you that they want to buy one of your paintings. They contact you through personal message, DMs, and they want to know if this painting is available. If that painting's not available, they'll take any painting you've got. They don't care. They just want to buy a painting. Huge red flag, and we'll come back to that. But what their goal is to get you to accept, okay, I'm going to send you money. They'll go through the details, and they'll keep talking to you to keep you distracted. We will what the address. They'll go through the address. They'll go through whatever details. They'll keep you talking. And they tend to be very pushy, very right now. They want it. They don't want to lose you. They don't want you going and asking somebody if this sounds fishy is what they don't want. But you'll say, okay, give me your email. I'll send you a PayPal invoice or whatever service you want to use. They'll usually require PayPal. For this specific scam. You give them, they don't want to give you that. No, just give me they'll say to you, no, give me your email and I'll send it to you, which is like, okay, fine. I mean, you can pay people by email or, through PayPal that way. What they're doing is getting the email address you use for your PayPal. Then they'll tell you, okay, well, PayPal's being weird. It's not working right. They're going to send you a code and I need you to give that to me so that I can send you the money. Yeah, that code, what they're doing is trying to hack into your PayPal account. So the code is them trying to reset your account. It sends you the code for yours because it's like, oh, you're trying to log in from a different device or you forgot your password. It sends you the password like to your phone that texts you or whatever. They're trying to get you to give them that code so that they can get into your PayPal account and steal your money. So that's one obvious huge scam that goes on with PayPal, like, I want to buy your art. The other one is, and this one, photographers get hit with this one a lot, but it can also hit artists. So they'll contact a photographer and fake being, hey, I'm an artist and I really like your photograph. I want to use it in one of my paintings for inspiration. Can I buy the rights to use it in one of my paintings? And a lot of photographers would be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, half more than half, most of the photographers I've contacted let me use their artwork for free. But they'll say, well, I'm willing to pay, you know, my client has a lot of money, they'll pay really well. So what they want to do is, it can be Zelle, it can be any Cash App, it can be anything. They will spend, and they don't even care, like some crazy amount of money. They'll say, I'm going to have the client pay you, let's say $1,000. And I only want $200 for the painting. So what it will do, the client will send you $1,000. You send me 200 of that to cover the cost of the painting, and then we're good. They're using a stolen credit card. So what happens when the bank realizes this is fraud is they take that $1,000 back away from you. That gets pulled out because that was a fraudulent charge. And you've already given them $200. If you paid through Zelle, through Cash App, through a lot of these, there's no way to get that back. So these are just two of many scams. So this is what the scammers are doing and how they convince you. And it seems innocent enough. Somebody wants to just send you through their PayPal account. Like, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't you? Like, other people have paid me that way. No, this is a scam. So red flags. The scammers are generally going to be very pushy. If you've ever watched any of these scammer videos, they actually have where somebody hacked into their system. They'll have an office full of scammers sitting there. Some of them are sitting at home on their own, but a lot of these scammers, they're in an actual office built for scamming people. It's an office of scammers. Like, that's a thing. So they'll be sitting there, and if you're not going to give them attention right now, they get mad. They'll be pushy. They'll be rude. A customer is not going to act like that. So, hey, are you there? Are you there? Trying to get you to respond as fast as possible. They're on the clock. They need money. They don't get paid if they can't scam you. So being rude, being pushy. Another huge red flag, and this just happened to one of our members over on Facebook. She sent me the screenshots of this, and this guy, absolute scammer. He was rude. He was pushy, doing all of that. What was the next thing he did? Oh, this one was big. So he says, hey, is this painting available? And she's like, no, sorry, that's sold. Well, what about this one? And it's something totally different. Like, one painting's clouds, one painting's a random dog. A real customer, probably not going to want a random dog, somebody else's dog, or somebody else's kid on their wall. That's not normal. Use a little bit, think about that. These are all red flags. Somebody isn't typically going to be all over the board on, they don't care what they get from you, they just want something from you. That is not how art works. I mean, even people who have established a good name for themselves, the customers are still going to be more picky on, oh, I don't really like that one. Do you have any like this? They want something more specific. This dude would have taken anything she had, somebody else's dog, somebody else's kid, some clouds, a landscape. So he's like, well, she's like, no, that one's sold. Because she doesn't really sell often. Like, you don't typically sell things through Instagram. So she says, well, do you have, isn't anything available for sale? And she's like, well, I have this one. So she shows it to him. Okay, I'll take it. How much? Well, he doesn't even care how much he's going to pay for it. So she gives him a price, and really reasonable price. Okay, he wants to pay her right now. Can I pay you now? And I'll give you my address. Can you pay me now? And he just keeps saying, I'm in Arizona. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm in this area. And she gives him the city. And he's not from the US. This is key. This is one of the next red flags. Most scammers are in India or in one of the countries in Africa. Those are your two more common, zones for a lot of this. And before anyone gets mad at me, no, I'm not saying people from those areas are bad by any means. I'm just saying these specific scams, this happens to be where most of them are from. So when they're contacting you in the US saying, I'm in Arizona, but their grammar is really bad. Now, okay, let's be realistic. Our school systems, not amazing. Grammar's not going to be good no matter what. But I mean, it's a different type of grammar. You're going to notice certain consistencies in the bad grammar. That's a red flag. Does that mean that somebody who has bad grammar isn't going to want to buy from you? No. All I'm saying is this is one of those many things that would make your spidey senses start to tingle because you're like, that seems weird. What else might seem weird? And maybe it is somebody who just has bad grammar, or somebody who moved here from India and that is they have an accent. Totally okay. But it is something that is so common with the scammers that just one little red flag. Is it a guarantee? No, but it is something to be like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit cautious moving forward, just in case. Because again, so common. So, let's see. They will take anything. So like I said, this guy, not picky. He didn't care. And this is not somebody who's built a name for herself yet. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but not there yet. You would have to be so famous, way famous than I'll ever be. Like, that makes it sound like I think I'm famous now, but you get the point. Like somebody with a huge amount of followers. I have 30-something thousand followers on Instagram. I don't sell art. No one contacts me to buy art on Instagram. I have, like, it's weird because it'll be random people who don't typically sell their art that they're contacting. They just look for artists. So that is, again, huge red flag that they're just desperate for anything you've ever created. And if you're looking at yourself and thinking, I mean, people don't normally buy, I'm not at a place where I sell my work yet. I'm not really ready for that yet. Also, red flag. Like, it's weird that somebody's so desperate. They want it. They'll pay anything you want. The other thing, another very common scam is that I've gotten this through email a lot. It's our anniversary. It's my wife's anniversary. And a lot of times they'll tell me they're contacting me from India or somewhere else and wanting to know if I'll ship it there, or they're going to be visiting the United States during this amount of time. And they want to spend, and they'll have a set amount of time. It's my anniversary and my wife loves your artwork. I want to spend $2,500 on art from you. What can I get for $2,500? Wait, I'm sorry, what? First off, in my case, I've already got a website. You can go look at what you can buy. But let's say that wasn't the case. That's not how you shop for something. You're like, what do you have available? What are your things in this price range? And it's funny because they want to spend even $2,500. That's how much I want to spend. Not, oh, wow, you have something for $400? Perfect gift, done. I don't need to spend all that money. I can use that money for something. No, they have this $2,500. Why? Because they're using a stolen credit card, and that's how much they know they can pull off that card, or, let's say it's $500, whatever it is. They've already figured out I can pull this much off of it before a fraud catches it, and that's going to go back to that chargeback thing, where the money they paid you, and then they're like, oh, I overpaid you by $400. Can you send me this money back for, whatever? And you're like, oh yeah, you overpaid. You meant to send me $2,500, but you sent me $3,000. I'll go ahead and send $500 back. And you think it's fine. I've got $2,500 in my account. No, you don't, because that's going to be a chargeback. But you already sent them $500. They just made $500 off that scam. So you kind of see where these go. And these are just a few of the methods that they use. There are many, many, many methods. So you got to look at those red flags. Being pushy. The common one of, it's my anniversary and my wife likes your work. I have heard that one so many times. Anybody tells you it's my anniversary, my wife likes your work. Obviously, that could be true, but it's such a common scam. Again, we're back to spider tingle senses. I just totally screwed that up, but you get the point. Your something's tingling. Things are tingling that shouldn't be tingling. So yeah. Not picky. They'll buy anything. They'll willing to pay any amount. They don't really care. They're not trying to budget. They're not trying to, most people are not just like, I'll spend anything. Let's see. Look up the address they give you. That's another thing you can do. Tell them that you need to get a shipping quote. What's your address? Look that up on Google. Is it an empty parking lot or an old warehouse? Probably a scam, because they'll sometimes just Google a random thing or give you a fake thing. Now, yeah, maybe somebody might be shipping to the warehouse they work at. That is possible. But again, tingly spider senses. That should raise a few red flags to where you're like, when all of these things come together, you're like, this is way too many red flags. There's no way this is true. Yeah, that fake location, look at the address. And a lot of times they don't want to give you the other thing. It's hit or miss on how the scam runs if they're going to give you the address. I've had some where they don't, or I've seen some. I actually haven't had a lot of this happen to me. Some of them I have. But they won't want to give you the address. They'll just say Oklahoma or wherever. They'll just give you a random, usually Texas, California, New York, like something that sounds very common. The other one is going to be, they will give you the address, but it's like a fake address. It's not like you look it up on Google Maps and you're like, yeah, that's not your house. That's not where you live. You can also ask them, oh, is that your house? Is that where you're from? Or, whatever. You can draw a little bit more information out. But honestly, at this point, there's been so many red flags, you should just write them off. So things to keep in mind. What do you do to avoid this? Have your own website. You can look right now, see what I do. My website, lachri.com. I've got a WordPress. It's super easy. And the WordPress, I do pay for an upgraded version, but you can do a free version that's included. Now, my website isn't free. I have to pay a hosting service. I think you can do that for like $15 a month through EMWD. My affiliate link should still be on my website, I think. But I want to say there's this $15 a month now for their hosting service, and that comes with WordPress, and then you would get WooCommerce, which is free, and install that. You'd have to get a theme that works with WooCommerce. I used Divi. I got it when it was on sale. It was like $220 for a lifetime, and I can install it on other people's websites, which is great. Like I'm building one for my neighbor right now, and I don't have to pay extra because I paid for the lifetime, whatever. But you would have to get a theme. So I'm not saying that it's all free, but the WooCommerce part where I make sales, that part's free. The auction part is not. That's an add-on. But you get the point. Have your own shop. So if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy something from you, are you there? You just link them to that site. If that's not good enough, they were not a real customer. If they can't just go to your website, see what's available, order one of those, not have to talk to you, not have to get your email address, not have to get this additional information. If they're not willing to do that, it wasn't a real customer. So I just cut out all potential scam because, well, I'm sure there's still other ways of scamming, but it's like, go to my website. Most of the problems I'm talking about, not even an issue for me because you're going to go there. What if you don't have that? You can set up, I think there's I don't know how it works with Wix and Weebly and some of those free sites. You might have to pay to have a shop. I'm not sure. Look into that. You could do eBay, Etsy. You could list something. Let's say somebody's like, hey, I really want this painting. Go throw it up on eBay. You can buy it there. You can buy it now option there. eBay's going to take a cut, obviously, but you're removing a lot of the scam. Now, that's not to say you can't be scammed through eBay. It happens, but this specific, like the Instagram, the Facebook scams, that really removes a lot of the problems that we're facing as artists from these scammers. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for that. Just be cautious, be aware that these scams exist, and don't let them take advantage of you. And if you're thinking, well, my artwork's not really good enough yet, I'm not at a stage where it's worth it to me to pay to have a website to sell my art, that's a red flag. The fact that somebody then, if you're like at a place where you're like, my art's not really at the place I'm ready to sell, I'm still kind of a beginner, it's going to be good, but it's not there yet, so I'm not at a place willing, to do that. Somebody was wanting to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on your art, and you're still like that much of a beginner that you're not willing to put a website together. Another big spidey senses tingling Spidey should stop tingling things because it's getting inappropriate. But you do just things to be aware of, things to look into. So many red flags. And one red flag, not the end of the world. It's when all of these start coming together that you start getting all tingles where they don't belong. Okay. So let's see. We've got questions in. Let me pull these up. Oh, good. Lots of questions. Yay. Marie said, I've looked into let's try that in English. Marie said, I've looked into purchasing Pastels, but they are pretty expensive. Any tips for an affordable brand for beginners who want color fastness? I'm looking for affordable quality. Thank you. So this is a great example. When you are on a budget, which especially these days, we're all on a budget, but when we're on a budget, but we still want quality, buy the best, just buy fewer colors. So let's say you want Pastel, fewer colors. Start with black and white. Just get those two. You can do entire pieces with black and white, master the blending, master everything, and then add, as you can afford it, add additional colors as you want. I don't think that there's a product that compares to Pastels anyway. They're really kind of a standalone, amazing, I'm in love with them, and I don't even like pastel. I like the look of pastels. I don't like working in them. I love those. But there's not really a good competitor for them. So I would say get black and white. If you really want to use those, get black and white and then do black and white pieces. You can use your black and white colored pencils. You can use black and white with this. And that's a better way. You can sell that work. It's archival. It's, well, depending on what paper you use, but that gives you a lot of options while still being archival. Let's say your colored pencil. You want to get really good colored pencils, but they're expensive. Trust me, I know. Get a set of 12 polychromos. Set of, I don't know what the small sets of Derwent Lightfast are, but the set of 12 polychromos has everything you need, and then add one of the Derwent Lightfast White. Polychromos White is okay for some things, but not for everything. So you will want at least a white and another more opaque white. But 12 polychromos, I can do anything with those. I did a macaw, and I've got magentas out of I don't have a magenta pencil in that set of 12. I could mix it with my blues and my reds, and I was able to make a magenta color. So you have, or a purplish kind of color, you have a lot of options with fewer colors. The other benefit of doing that, you are going to master color mixing. So we'll use colored pencil as an example again. If you've only got 12 colors, you have to learn to mix and blend. It actually takes a huge challenge of colored pencil. When we buy colored pencils, we get a set of 120, set of 150, whatever, a big set. You get that big set and it is overwhelming. You're like, why are there 800 yellows? Okay, my math is terrible because obviously not, but there's, 4, 5, 6 yellows. How do you know which yellow? If you've only got one yellow, one green, one blue, you don't need to worry about that. You've got one option. You learn to mix from what you have. Oh, I have a yellow, or let's say I have green and it's too blue. I want it more yellow, more like closer to yellow on the color wheel. Obviously, add yellow to that color or add red to tone it down. You're going to learn things like that from using fewer colors better than if you're just like, oh, I've got the perfect color pencil. I don't have to learn to mix. I'm just going to pull this out. You will learn so much more. Same thing with paint. Let's say you're getting started with acrylics, with watercolor, whatever. Pick the bare minimum amount of colors to get started at, even black and white. Master black and white because that's going to be way cheaper to get started in, obviously 2 colors, but you can still use the best products. You're going to master that medium versus using crappy, cheap, inexpensive. It doesn't blend right. It doesn't layer right. You're not learning a lot from crap products. Plus, you can't even sell it. I can sell black and white painting. Black and white paintings are amazing. If I used color, let's say I got a set of some crap out of China, like they have all the cheap stuff you buy on Amazon. I get those. Those aren't light fast at all. They all say amazing light fast quality, but I've contacted these companies. They're like, oh yeah, we don't test for it. It's very expensive to test. So of course they don't test at those prices. Very deceiving. Really shady. But anyway, they kind of like the companies out of China. A lot of them will name their brand made in North Carolina. And so you assume that means, or it'll be named made in the USA, but they're not. That's just the name of their brand. And it's like, wow, that is some shady marketing. I don't even know how that's legal. But that's the same thing with like excellent light fastness or light fast quality or excellent, I forget how they word it, but it's like, but they didn't test. It's just made up. So same thing, a lot of those, I wouldn't have you learn on those. I would rather have you learn on like Liquitex Basics, which are my favorite acrylics. And they're also fairly inexpensive. So bonus there, get black and white, master that. Don't get a set of 15, like tons of colors of the cheap out of China stuff that is not going to blend well. It's not going to layer well. It's not going to perform well. You're not learning to use it well because it can't perform. It can't do what the other paints can do. So you're so much better off, fewer colors, high quality is what I would suggest. Wow, I just dragged that out, didn't I? I need more coffee. Let's see. Whoops, that just jumped. Baby Panda said, FYI for anyone who uses very thin pencils, I heard they may be discontinued. You may want to stock up just in case. Ooh, good tip. Diane said, love your art. What do you use to seal pastel art? That is the Spectrafix. This is not the Spectrafix bottle, but it is Spectrafix in this bottle. It's a fine mist sprayer. Spectrafix. Link is in the video description if I did my job right. And that is my favorite because it doesn't darken anything. Like as long as you do a light layer, it's not going to make it darker, whereas a lot of sprays do. And then I can work over it. So ideally, as you're working, mist it, keep working, mist it again, and it really helps the pastels or the colored pencils or whatever you're working in. It helps it to really adhere to that paper long term. So that is what I use. Thanks. Nick has the link in the video or in the comments there. Patrick said, live stream another charcoal, maybe watercolor charcoal combo. Was it you who asked about that? I was like, I don't know why you would do that. I mean, you could, but I don't know why. I started thinking about that because I think it was you who mentioned it in another live stream. And the more I've thought about it, I want to. I came up with some ideas that I think would be really neat. So yes, I think I already know what I want to do. I like it. Okay. Good suggestion. EO said, I finally got on the Derwent Lightfast bandwagon and also bought Spectrafix. Yay! Baby Panda said, I have stolen words are hard from you. I have trouble finding what I want to say too. Maria said, what makes a good art? My glasses. I'm so old. I really should have done bifocals. I'm like, huh? Let's see. Marie said, what makes a good art backing board? I use cardboard, but it creases too easily. I assume any flat surface is fine, but I need one I can take outside when spraying. Does she clean it? Okay, so not cardboard. I don't want cardboard touching my paper. I don't want cardboard touching my art. One, it is too soft. Two, it's not acid free. So, I mean, realistically, if it's only touching it for a few days or a week, it's probably not going to cause any damage, but why risk it? Get these boards here. This is just like a drawing board. It's inexpensive. I get them from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I don't know. They used to be like $10 with inflation and our crap economy. Who knows what they are right now. But they're very inexpensive. I'm sure you can get them on Amazon as well. I'll put a link in the video description if I edit this into a smaller one where you can find it. I may do that. But these boards, I have several of them. So if I'm working on one project and I like need to get photos of it still, I leave it on the board until I get my final photos so that it's all flat and I can get a really good photo of it first. So sometimes one's still taped down because I haven't gotten photos yet and I need to go start a new project. So that's why I always have several of these. But they have bigger ones too. This is absolutely wonderful for anything like that. And no, I don't clean it. I mean, you could take, I guess, a damp cloth if it had like a lot of charcoal or pastel on it. I've never needed to, but you certainly could. Horsewoman 2000 said, if we have an idea for a live stream and have reference photo, can we send it somewhere? That is a good idea, but also it is so rare that someone sends me a reference photo and it would work for a live stream. You could try. I mean, you could post it on MeWe or Facebook and tag me in it, but preferably MeWe. I spend more time there by a long shot. But it's one of those things where, like, I have to be able to look at it and go, yeah, I can get that done in less than an hour. So it depends on what it is for a live stream. But yeah, send it, tag me in either Facebook or MeWe, ideally MeWe, or send it private message if you're on MeWe, and I'll take a look. Galen said, any tips for growing an art channel on YouTube? I just started my art channel. Oh, I wish I knew. So there are channels like Think Media is a good one. Hold on. Actually, let me pull up my YouTube and I will, let's see, Think Media. Who was the other one? Let me find my subscribers, or not subscribers, who I'm subscribed to. Can I even see it this way? Your videos, history, YouTube Premium. I don't even know how to find who I'm subscribed to for this on this one. Subscriptions. Okay, let me see. I'll pull up a few of these that I like. Here's the thing. Okay, vidIQ, sign up to them. Film Booth. Nick Nimmin, Nimmin, is a really good one. He's gotten way better over the years too. Like, I used to not be in love with his content. I love his presentation. He's got good stuff. Man, he's improved over the years. Video creators. I don't know how often they're posting anymore. There's another guy. What is his name? Scrolling. And I'll tell you my thoughts on this in a moment. There's one more that I can't think of his name, and I'm just trying to find his. Now, these are not specific to artists. They're just growing, I don't know where the other one is, growing your YouTube channel. So here's the thing. YouTube's algorithm, I think, is crap. It's very hard to find what you want. And this is just, it's a thing. Art, if you're making art videos, they're not exciting, they're not clickbaity, they're not, getting attention and creating drama, you're not going to get as many views. They just don't perform as well on the algorithm. Things that perform well on the algorithm with art, honestly, ASMR, which drives me crazy. Even thinking about it just makes my skin crawl. I freaking hate that stuff. I think it's just, it is weird how passionate I am about this. Like, billboards, ASMR, people who let their dogs outside off a leash. So yeah, those are things that are just my top of my I cannot stand list. But you have the people who talk like this and they're so calm and oh my god. Anyway, I've got issues, so I'm aware. Now you're aware too. But those type of things do well, but like regular tutorials, all of us are having a hard time with that. The better content you can produce, obviously, the better the video is going to do. For me, I found to do a video, let's say a video that got 70,000 views in a month. That's insanely good for me. I had to put 3 days of just editing. It might have been longer. That didn't count planning the video, planning the skits, planning my raccoon, the video of my raccoon painting, if you look that up, how to make your acrylics look like oil paint. So it was a topic that was really good, very interesting to a lot of people. And it was just so heavily edited. That performs better. If your video, like right now, I should be hitting this button and changing my screen every 8 seconds. That's how short people's attention span is now. If you're not doing that, if you're not having keeping their attention, TikTok, I think, is killing people's attention span even worse. We're just getting too used to flipping through stuff. So it's hard. It is really hard to grow, produce more content. And a lot of these video creator ads that I just linked to you, they've got good tips. I agree with them on a lot of things, but for me, it's like, do I want to produce art or do I want to edit videos? I have to choose one at some point. And so that's why one of the reasons that I wanted to go back, that, and I actually missed doing the live streams, but one of the reasons I wanted to go back to live streaming more is it's like, okay, here I can produce content, I can have lessons, I can do it, they won't get as many views. They will never get as many views as the heavier edited stuff. But as a one person thing, I mean, okay, my husband helps with the skits, but with one person doing editing, doing the artwork, doing everything, I couldn't do it all. I got burnt out fast. And I used to like editing videos. Now I'm like, oh God, I never want to look at Premiere Pro again. But I really enjoyed it at first. And if that's all I was doing, it would probably be fun. It's a lot. So producing consistent content, of course, is going to be my first tip. That's most people's tip. But produce good content as much as you can. It's those videos are the channels I mentioned are good, but it's hard because their tips I don't find to be completely accurate. And a lot of people don't. Not for art. Not for like, unless you can find a way to be very clickbaity, very like in your face. Here's a challenge and oh my gosh, the mystery. What's going to happen at the end? I've seen where people do it. Nerdforge. Look at her videos. She's amazing. She does such good content. They're interesting. There's a story behind it. She's super creative. She's fun. Like she's got kind of everything in one, but that is not an easy, like for my style of art and for what I do, I just can't get that to get big. So getting big on YouTube is very difficult now. Their search engine is absolutely terrible. You need good thumbnails. That's my next tip. And that is something I've got to work on even hard. My nemesis, thumbnails. Good thumbnails. Something that makes people want to click. Don't even worry about branding. That used to be the thing. Oh, my branding had my name on it, had this. Don't even worry about it. It needs to be colorful. It needs to be bright. It needs to not be too busy. It's got to have people go, oh, I wonder what's happening there. So thumbnails are really big. Like art lessons, I do the full, like I'll upload an hour-long art lesson, like a real-time thing. I'm going to get a few hundred views or maybe a couple thousand. It's never going to hit the 20,000, the crazy big ones for something like that. So it definitely depends on what type of content you're able to produce, but it's hard because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you're not producing something where people are commenting because you created drama, you created controversy, you created something that they want to argue with, then the algorithm's like, people aren't really that interested in this. I mean, it's more than that. There's so much more. They're so involved. Those channels I mentioned, those should help. But yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't do it. You should. But it's hard because we've got to a point with the way the YouTube algorithm is working. Like if I search oil paintings, I'm going to get 6 listings, not pages, listings, 6 videos with that exact term. My next 6 will be suggested. My next 6 will be also watched. My next 6 will be, what was the other one? New channels for you, which was funny because they weren't even new channels. They were channels, some of them I was subscribed to, like Lena Dania. I'm subscribed to her. She's my friend. Of course, I'm like, what? Why are you suggesting under new content or new channels for me, someone I've been subscribed to for years? Like, it's weird. Like, their search engine makes it very difficult to find what you're looking for now. So good thumbnails, consistent content would be my tips for you at this point. Other than that, good luck. Okay. Next. Rob said, I have seen some watercolor artists talk about spraying their art with UV protective spray, then mounting them under UV glass. Do you think that would work for colored pencil pieces? Yes, absolutely. The more UV protection, the better. Now, what point, like, I don't know, like, does that mean your pencil that was a 2 out of 5 stars or 2 out of like that was low light fast? I can't think of ratings right now. Does that mean it's now completely light fast? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. So that I can't tell you. But yeah, like I did my red panda in Inktense, not light fast because Inktense, some of them were not. I UV spray, UV glass. It did get some, it was a bright room. It did get very bright indirect sunlight and it did not fade. I had it hanging there for 5 years or so. I forget. It didn't fade. I gave it to somebody else. As far as I know, it hasn't faded. But yeah, like if I want Inktense hung on the wall, I'm putting UV spray and UV glass just to be safe. But I don't know like how light fast that makes it or how effective. I just don't have the answer there. But yeah, absolutely it would work it would help any medium to be more light fast. How much more light fast? I just don't know. Brittany said, have you ever heard of Prismacolor colored pencils that are considered the Japanese Prismacolor premieres that are better made in Japan? Well, Holbein was made in Japan, and they don't have a good track record with me, so I'm not sure. That's kind of a silly thing to go, oh, anything made out of there is questionable. But yeah, I haven't heard of them. I don't know. They had different, somebody was telling me, and I don't know how true this was, but they were telling me like, oh, Japan just does things different. They're not going to answer your questions. And I'm like, okay, if that's true, then I don't want to use their products. But that was just somebody else commenting on that, so I shouldn't base any opinion on it. I'm being dumb. But no, I've not heard of them. Elise said, do you think Derwent drawing pencils are the same quality as Derwent Lightfast? I noticed 90% of the drawing pencils are the highest Lightfast. Yeah, they're higher wax content. They're super opaque. They are so soft. They blend so well. They're softer because they have more high wax content, but they are an amazing, like that's a must have with my edition. I don't mention them often enough, but I use those a lot. Like if I need something super smooth, I need something that is really opaque, those are my go-to pencils. The only complaint I really have with them is that they're not Lightfast. I wish they are not. That's not true. Don't lie. There's not very many colors. I'm really tired. Can you tell? I wish there were more colors. You've still got, 8 minutes to bid on the butterfly. If anybody wants this guy, this will be better tomorrow. I'll do touch-ups on that tomorrow. I gotta do better. Okay. Let's see. Ellen said, what are the brands for white and sanguine that you're using tonight? 2, is it easier to correct an initial outline if I use Faber-Castell watercolor pencil instead of regular colored pencil? No, I don't think it's any easier at all. Unless you were using water where it would blend out. Like I see no benefit of using a watercolor pencil over regular colored pencil. Like if I'm using a normal colored pencil, I'm doing everything in colored pencil. The only reason, like, let's say I drew something, I was going to do something in Inktense, and I often say I'll use a water soluble graphite pencil because the water will make it blend out. But if I was doing colored pencil, I'm not using water. So using a watercolor pencil has no benefit to me at all. For tonight, the sanguine everything was polychromos except for the white that was Derwent Lightfast. That was a good question. Let's see. Laura said, how to pack art, especially drawings, on paper and paintings on stretched canvas to protect it during shipping. I figure nothing is foolproof, but I wondered if you had any tips. Up and coming artist, how long okay, that's not for... Oh, no, that's something else. Okay. For packing art, I use, so like this. If this sells without a mat, then I'm going to box it, or I've got cardboard sheets that I get from Amazon, and I put a bunch of cardboard sheets so it's flat. And I need to make sure I sit there and bend it. If I can bend it, I need more cardboard. Or I can use like cardboard boxes. We have tons of, like, if you're like me with Amazon addictions, you probably got a lot of those. I always save those, cut those up, and reuse those whenever possible. So that would be an option if you've got boxes big enough for the whole thing. And then I wrap it. I've got a plastic, these bags. I use teal because it's my brand color. I get those from Amazon. Like, they're really nice for shipping, and then just tape my label over that. But you need to make sure, however you pack something, if you could hand it to a toddler and have it make it through, let's say, a week of that toddler playing with it, you're good. You packed it well enough. If you would not feel comfortable handing that to a toddler, letting them run around the yard with it, letting them stand on it, play with it, throw it across the room, you didn't pack it well enough. That's kind of my general standard because that's pretty much what you're dealing with USPS, UPS, FedEx. Imagine a toddler just tossing it all over the place, standing on it, everything, getting ran over. So those are things to consider. For a stretch canvas, I get boxes. Again, I get those on Amazon, and whatever size I need, and I just wrap it in glassine and then cardboard over the top in case something were to puncture through. It wouldn't puncture through the canvas if somebody like stabbed it with something. I don't know. I don't trust shippers. And bubble wrap or paper, whatever I have left over from Amazon packages is what I use for those to try to like cushion it in there as well as possible. But I'll usually put a piece of that cardboard over the top. So let's say I put bubble wrap in there. I don't want the bubble wrap putting pressure on the canvas and stretching it. So having a flat piece of cardboard over the top of the stretch canvas keeps it so that nothing is like going to stretch that, if that makes sense. But between the artwork and the cardboard will always be a piece of glassine, because the glassine is archival, cardboard is not. The same thing. Can you hand that box to a toddler and have it make it through a week of the toddler playing with it? If not, you need to pack it better. Lay down, bad cow. Good boy. Okay, up and coming artist said, how long would you say you've been using colored pencil? I started using them when I was like regularly my senior year in high school, so that would have been 1995. Yeah, I'm old. They were Prismacolors, and they were Prismacolors back when Prismacolor was good. I still have them somewhere. I need to post a photo someday. Let's see. Linda said, words are hard. My daughter has picked this up and says it at work. Who knows? You might hear it coming back to you someday. That's funny. Melissa said, have you used the colorless blender Pan Pastel? Is it helpful? Also, can you correct mistakes in Pan Pastel? Can you lift up the color? Yeah, it erases really well, so you certainly can. I use a kneaded eraser as my preference to kind of dab and lift it up as needed, so works great for that. The colorless blender, I've never felt the need for it. Like, it blends so well. Maybe I should buy some sometime just to try it, but it's not something I've ever bought. It didn't come with my set, and I didn't feel like I needed it once I tried these, so I'm really not sure where the benefit would be of that, but I've not tried it, so maybe I'm just not seeing it. But I didn't feel like it, like I've never felt like I needed something to blend them other than the pastels and my soft tools. Elaine said, what camera do you use to photo your artwork? I recommend any DSLR. Mine is a Canon 6D with, I don't know what lens it is. I forget the lens, but a Canon 6D with whatever lens kit I have on that. I don't even know what it is. Let's see. Dolphin Soul said, fine arts, that's me. I've never worked with Pan Pastels. Are you applying it wet or dry? Because earlier the camera made it look like it was spreading out wet. No, it's dry. It's kind of like, well, pastels, but almost oilier in that I don't want to say oil. That's maybe not the right word, but they stick to the paper so much better. Like pastels, I would have pastel all over my easel right now. There's a little, but not much, like fall off. This stuff, it just sticks so well. It glides on so well. Like it's not, yeah, it's dry, but oily's not the right word, but it's not dry like pastel, if that makes sense. I don't know. It just sticks better. I don't know what they do to make that amazing, but it is. Up and coming artist said, what type of brand colored pencil do you use the most? Faber-Castell Polychromos and Derwent Lightfast are my two most used pencils. I have a tendency to skip the stuff that, the way that this works on the, like some questions will come up in gray and I always miss them. That's why I'm backwards. Brittany said, what do you think about Jazza, who has gotten away from originally him producing drawings? I don't know much about him. I don't really have an opinion. I've seen some of his stuff, but it wasn't stuff that I was like, had an opinion one way or another. So I really can't. What a boring answer, right? Like you're hoping for something juicy. I don't follow him enough to know anything about what he does, what he used to do. I just don't know. So I am no help there. Yeah, I think we are good. Nick says, I'll try to make ASMR. We can't be friends. Let's see. You've got 1 minute on the auction. And then whoever wins this, if you want the mat, just let me know. There's a link that you could buy that. Is that your bid, Nick? Were you just bidding for me to test? Because if it is, you don't need to buy that. If that was a test bid, it might have been. Anyway, yeah, I think, is that it for tonight? I think we're good. So next week, hopefully we'll have the new setup, the new, hopefully better cameras. I will hopefully, if all goes well, have a camera on the palette so you'll see the brushes and all of that there. Of course, I have to steal the lighting from the boys so they won't be lit up as much. What else? Let's see. What am I forgetting anything? It's going to be a bird, acrylics, and okay, yeah, testing. Thanks. My brain just shut down. Like I feel like there was something I was supposed to mention to you guys. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Do I do a review of the artist's work? So occasionally I do for patrons, and I've got to do one soon because I've had a lot of requests lately, but it'll only be open to patrons can submit, but then I will, it'll be a live stream like this so you can watch and get tips, like tips for anyone's work can be applied to yours, like to help that way. So I will be scheduling one of those sometime in the near future. And yeah, I think that's it. I will see you guys. Oh, wait, I didn't do my typical message from the boys.
Without treats, these puppies are so sad. Your Patreon pledge of only $4 or more gives them cookies of happiness. Act now, and the bad cow gets a treat too. Oh, and you also get over 300 art lessons and a new one every single week, plus other rewards. Sign up at patreon.com/Lachri.
Oh, for how to submit for the art, for the patrons, I'll announce that when I do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I will make an announcement over on Patreon of how to submit, but it will be only, usually I do that for the $9 tier and above. Otherwise it would be way too many. So, or like I start with the teal tier. So the top tier, they get first dibs until I hit a certain amount, or, you know, however many, because I can only do like 20 in a live stream. And even that's a lot. That would be pushing it. And then I'll open it to the aqua tier and I'll work my way down to the $9 tier, for the submissions. So that will be sometime in the near future. Thank you to I give up on words. Like I just give up on them. Thank you to the moderators. Check out their channel. Links are in the video description. They've got art channels here. You definitely should check those out. And I will be back next week with that. What was it? Did I say it was going to be? The bird painting. Yes. Next Wednesday. Bye.